Hi guys, and welcome back to Slice of Mike. So today I'm talking about the books that I am currently reading in the month of September, and then also the books that I plan on reading for the rest of the month. I'm going to film my August wrap-up soon, and I think I'm also going to include the first 2 weeks of September, so that'll be like a 6-week wrap-up. One which will be the graphic novels and comics that I read for that wrap-up period, and then a separate one which is everything else that I've read, because I don't want to make one single wrap-up that's just too long, because we all appreciate short videos, I think. So what am I currently reading in September? I'm so glad you asked. The first book that I'm reading is called The Lives of the Monster Dogs by Kirsten Backus, which I picked up at a used bookstore. I had to pick it up because, first of all, the cover is beautiful. It has foil on it. It has this strange portrait of a dog/man creature, and then I read the back and it sounded like a very interesting book. It's about a race of dogs that have been genetically modified and experimented on so they can walk and think like humans, and they can also talk to humans. There's this like Frankenstein quality, and it's also just an examination of animals, our relationship with animals themselves, and kind of how we interact with nature, and also what it means to be human. And I love any sort of story where animals are used either in an anthropomorphic way, or if they're used kind of as a foil for humans to talk about what it means to be a human being and humanity and all that good stuff. So it's kind of a philosophical book. I don't really know if I'm into it just yet. I've only read about 50 pages. I've taken huge breaks between those different pages, so I don't have a full grip on what the story is about, nor am I 100% into it at the moment. I fully intend on finishing it because, at the very least, I spent money on it, so I should read it. And if I don't like it, I will explain why I didn't like it. But it sounded like a cool book, and I haven't heard anyone talk about this before, so thought I'd pick it up. And the other thing that I'm currently reading is Fables. This is the deluxe edition, book 3, which I believe contains volumes 5 and 6 in the trade paperback. I've already read the series up to, I think, maybe the 7th or 8th issue, so I've read this already. It's a reread, but I wanted to start collecting these hardcover bind-ups, even though they're not cheap, so that was probably a bad decision. But my birthday was just a few weeks ago, so I decided to buy the first few, and then I also have the 9th one for some odd reason. I think it was just cheaper than everything else, so I was like, fine, I'll get it. I'm sure you know what the series is about. If you love fairy tales, you're gonna like this series. It's not the best written series I've ever read, and it's not the most engaging series I've ever read. It was up until I started reading Image Comics series, which really speak to my soul and my heart. This series is definitely more of, can I call it a guilty pleasure? I don't necessarily agree with that term, but it is more of a nostalgia thing, I guess. It's definitely well illustrated. It's a good, engaging story that has a lot of popular and also lesser known fairy tales mixed in, and I will follow the rest of the storyline once I can afford the rest of the books in this series. But for now, I'm going to finish reading this one, and then I'll move on to the next. On to the TBR portion, and also following up with the Fables comic I just showed, I've started to read the Fairest spin-off, which is a spin-off of the Fables comics that follows just the ladies and the princesses in those comics. And I really wanted to start reading these because I like Snow White's character, and I like all the other princesses that are in the Fables comic series, but they're not really talked about as much as Bigby or some of the other more prominent characters in the storyline. So I was excited to start reading this series now that there are, I think, 4 or 5 volumes out. I've actually already read the first one. This is the second in the series, which focuses on Rapunzel, and she is, I guess, in Japan, and there's some sort of weirdness that involves her hair. I don't necessarily enjoy Rapunzel's character, and I don't even think she's in the comic series, the original comic series, but no idea, so we'll see. The last graphic novel that I plan on reading in September is Chew, and this is the Omnivore. I guess that's their term for the deluxe edition. The first one. I haven't read anything in the series, although I've heard plenty of people tell me I should read it. It's about a cop who eats or ingests human body parts, and he's able to solve mysteries based on the visions that he gets from eating human flesh. So yes, please. I don't think there's any way that I won't enjoy this series, but if for some odd reason I do, then I will definitely talk about that in a future wrap-up. Otherwise, I'm just planning on breezing through this first volume and then getting on to the next in the series. I think there are 3 or 4 deluxe bind-ups out right now. Side note, somebody asked in a recent video what these little yellow stickers are at the bottom of some of my books, and they are actually library books because I don't buy every single book that I read. And especially graphic novels I tend to get from the library because they're so expensive, they're very quick reads, and I'm not convinced that I have a huge desire to reread the comics that I've read. So unless I really enjoy a series like Fables, I will not collect the series myself, and I'll just get them from the library. Libraries are cool, so You should go use them. The next book that I'm going to read is a book that I think everyone else in the entire land of BookTube has already read, and that is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. I don't need to tell you what it's about. I don't even know what it's about, so I couldn't if I wanted to, but essentially I have this book, the first book, and then... Oh, I'm like fanning myself. That feels really good. It's so hot up here. I'm reasonably confident that I will enjoy the series, but I've been on the outskirts of BookTube opinions before, so we'll see. But I am going to read this book, and then if I like this book, I will continue on with the series. Next, I have The Prestige by Christopher Priest, which is the second book by him that I've picked up. The first one I read a few months ago, and that was The Islanders, which is his most recent book, and I didn't really enjoy that book very much. I liked certain parts of it, but overall I gave it like 3 stars. However, I think this is his most famous book. It was the basis of that really cool movie with Scarlett Johansson and those other people. I think I'm gonna like this, and I bought this at the library for 50 cents, so a little toot of my own horn there. I am hopeful, and we will see what I think of it soon. And the last book on my end of September TBR is The Snow Child by Eowyn, last name covered by a sticker, Eowyn, this is requiring a lot of effort, LeMay Ivy. Eowyn LeMay Ivy. She is part elf, I think. This is a book that I've been wanting to read for a while. I got it from the library about a year ago, but I had to return it because I didn't have time to read it. So I've been wanting to read it for at least that long, and then I saw it at Barnes & Noble for $6, so I had to get it, obviously. This is about a couple living in 1920s Alaska. They want a child, but for some reason they can't have one. One day they go out and build a snow child, and then that snow child comes to life. I'm assuming that the story is going to end up with this child being evil or some sort of demonic force, at least in theory, but we'll see. I'm very excited about this, plus it's getting colder out, so it seems very timely, and I'm excited to read this. So those are all the books that are on my TBR. I probably will have time to finish them all because they're graphic novels / YA for the most part, so those will be pretty quick reads. I'm excited to get to all this good stuff, and if you guys have read any of this stuff yourselves, let me know what you thought of it in the comments section below. So that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you all later. Bye!